I'm Mary Chestnut.
Oh, I'm Tamou Chambers. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Hi, how are you?
How are you, Jonathan?
Mary Chestnut.
We're going to be introducing ourselves every time we meet, I think. I remember the faces, but not the names.
All right, do I want to do anything with this? Or keep it away from my hand so I don't screw it up?
Yeah, just click the red button and hang it up.
All right.
You know?
Well, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sorry for the delay. Apparently, one of our notices indicated the 5th floor, as it was last time. In fact, folks in Albany are meeting on the 11th floor. So Casey and Carlos, oh, for God's sakes. So Casey and Carlos, my apologies, and folks. But we're all together now, so why don't we begin? So welcome, everybody. As folks know, I'm Dan Shapiro. I'm Secretary of State Cesar Corrales' designee as chair.
Carlos Medina, I'm Chancellor Zuper's designee.
Good morning, Casey Jacobowski from the New York State Education Department. I am acting as Commissioner John King's delegate.
Great. And why don't we just go around the table?
Mary Teresa Strick from our community charter school in Troy.
John Cornu from Madison Oneida BOCES and representative of the National Abolition Hall of Fame and Museum.
Oh, yes. I'm Tamou Chambers from Hudson Valley Community College.
Great. So nice to have you. Thank you. New York City. Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. I'm Sylvia Wong Lewis. I'm with Narrative Network.
David Byertire. I was with the African American Museum of Nassau County. I'm currently with the Hofstra University Public History Project.
We still love you.
Thank you very much. It's nice to know.
I'm Nina DeSalvo. I'm Special Counsel to the Secretary.
Thanks, Nina. Is Pamela there?
I'm here, Dan.
Say hello, Pamela. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Pamela Hortani, the Assistant for the Department of State.
Truly indispensable.
Okay.
All right. So, although I don't think we need a vote on the minutes or anything, but if folks look at the minutes,
Yes.
is there anything that we should include that wasn't there? Sort of a stream of consciousness kind of thing. Hard to keep track of all that was said. But if anybody has anything that they wanted recorded in the minutes that was said and not recorded, now's your shot. Okay, that's great. So, going on, we've introduced the folks. Oh, we have people on the phone, don't we? Who's on the phone?
Who's on the phone? Lisa?
Hi, I'm on the phone. This is Lisa. I can tell it's phone.
Hi, Lisa. Anybody else?
On the phone.
Great. Okay. So, having dispensed with the introductions, we can get down to business. I don't anticipate this is going to be a hugely long meeting. My basic desire in this meeting was to really establish the subcommittees so that we can get busy with the things that we can do to really provide access to the public in relating the African American experience, the Amistad experience. And I think we can do some good things in some pretty short order, setting up a structure to get your expertise. So in a prior email, I had suggested 3 subcommittees, and these are not written in stone, and there can be, I don't know if there can be really more, because 3 for the number of people we have is already probably enough. A couple of you have already indicated you'd like to be on both subcommittees, which is fine. But why don't we go through them so you get the idea of what I thought, and this came out of a discussion at the last meeting, what I thought we were looking for. The first thing I set forth was website redesign. And we chatted about having a far more robust website which would provide contact for educational institutions. I think Mary mentioned, I know she mentioned this morning in casual conversation, podcasts from experts. There's a lot of things we can do on the website. I think it can serve as a portal, if you will, for Amistad related resources. There are hundreds of educational opportunities throughout the state that I got to tell you folks don't know about. Now, I'm a beer aficionado, so whenever I go anywhere, I look up on the web, I look up craft brewing, all right? Because I want to hit the brew pubs, all right? Well, it should be the same thing with this, you know, if I'm traveling to the Finger Lakes, if I'm traveling to the Southern Tier, wherever, if I have a place where I can go and I click on Amistad and I can see the educational resources, I think that's a real boon to those places and a real boon to the public. So I was hoping that we could do that. Now, feeding into that website redesign, of course, is the Educational and Cultural Resources Subcommittee. That's the subcommittee where, or working group, I call it a subcommittee, whatever it is. That's the work group where we're going to get a lot of the information that we want to put on the website. All right, so essentially, one's going to feed the other. Now, website redesign, by the way, isn't just the content, but it's the look and feel. And I know we discussed, we have folks on this commission who are experienced with that, so I'm hoping that we can work with Edison, who supervises the website, to develop a look and feel that's going to be really exciting and vibrant. The final subcommittee that I thought of anyway, and believe me, there can be more or different, so after I introduce this, I want folks to chime in, is the educator input. You know, we need educators' input on what's available, what's needed. You know, certainly I don't know everything. In fact, I know virtually nothing. And so I thought that would be a place where we could get that kind of information. And I know Carlos has brought, I'm sorry.
Oh, Smooth Chambers.
To move.
Mm-hmm.
To move, because to move can help in that respect. So that's a great thing. Now, what I would like to do is have the ex officios, all right, because you're going to have to deal with us on this, have a liaison, and then we'll chat about who's going to be on the subcommittees and who can be a liaison from the subcommittees to the state, all right? Because in my experience, I've always found that you have one voice speaking to one voice, and that's the way you get things done. If we keep it amorphous, nothing will get done. So I had suggested, I don't think I put it in an email, but I had thought that, at least for the state liaisons in the subcommittee, Edison, Alban, our PIO, would be for website redesign, that Casey would do educational and cultural resources, and that Carlos, or Carlos's designee, that SUNY would be the liaison for educator input. Seems to make sense. And then we'll talk about the subcommittee. Who's going to be on the subcommittees and who will be the liaison. So that's my take on it. So now I put it out to the folks here. How do you feel about that? Are there any changes, suggestions? Is everybody in accord? I open it up.
Dan, I think someone joined us by teleconference. Did a new caller
Wonderful.
join?
And who might that be?
Yes, Robert Lloyd.
Okay, that's
Hi,
Robert
Robert.
Lloyd is on the telephone now as well.
Hello,
That's
how you
great.
doing?
Hi, Robert.
Late?
Wonderful. No, that's all right. We started late, so you're right on time. Did you just get on, Robert?
All right, great.
Did you
Thank you.
just get on? Did you hear the stuff?
No, I heard some of that. It came through, wasn't quite clear, but I caught tail ends of it about the
Okay.
committee.
It's really, I was reiterating the email that we sent with respect to the 3 subcommittees in the structure. So I don't think you missed anything. Okay.
Right.
So now I'm opening it up, and if folks like the way the subcommittees are set forth, that's wonderful. If there are changes, suggestions, I'd entertain them. What do folks say? What do folks think?
Well, I think that we were talking earlier, before we started the meeting, this is Sylvia
Sylvia.
talking, about the website
Yeah.
redesign, and we were wondering, what some options were if we were to look at some of the other commissions and the other Amistad commissions, see what they're doing, and whether we had to build out what was there or whether we can start something totally different. And
We can.
we just have a lot of questions, I
Sure.
guess, we wanted to hash out.
We can make this look, I think, pretty much any way we want to make it look. And looking at
Oh, okay.
we design our website in-house. The DOS website,
Uh-huh.
which is new and improved, and I think a really good look and a good interface, is an in-house.
Which one is that? I didn't
Department
hear
of
you.
State website.
DOS was.
DOS?
Generally?
Okay. Oh, yeah,
Have
it's
you been
really
to that
nice.
one?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
yes.
in-house design. So So
Oh, that's
we have
great.
the capacity to design this according to our desires. Looking at other setups would be great, you know, I mean, why reinvent the wheel if there's something wonderful out there? But we can really do whatever we want. But the first, you know,
Okay.
obviously you have your design, your literal design, but the first thing is to get the content, right? And I must admit, and here I am admit it in public and be recorded for posterity, that we have extraordinarily little on our website. Our website is not robust, it is anemic. So we're starting from a place where we can only improve, which is maybe a good thing, because we'll have something to show for this.
Yes.
You know, I just have a, okay.
Yeah,
I have a question. Pardon me? I wanted to know, you know, I'm currently working on the Educational and Cultural Resources, I guess, subcommittee. And my question was, you know, how often will this website evolve to reflect, I guess, current changes and programming? Because one of the things that you're asking this committee to do is to also include museums, you know, historical sites, and, you know, and other institutions that may have programming relative to African American history. But typically these programs may not be ongoing programs. It may be a particular time of year, or, you know, a month or a particular date. So how is the webmaster or going to manage content if the subcommittee takes on responsibility of, I guess, being the buffer for things that come to him? Or will he
I think
also
it's
be the
both.
buffer as well?
I think that it's a lot to ask from the Amistad Commission members to, in perpetuity, all right, be the contact. We're going to have to take that over. That is always a challenge, all right, and whether or not we can actually maintain small seminar kind of things, you know, scheduling that and being in communication with the not-for-profits is a challenge. But if we have a good relationship, which we have to establish with the not-for-profit, in other words, I would anticipate that we would get email addresses, telephone numbers, and that there would have to be an understanding that the entity itself would have to keep us up to date. And then we'd have to reevaluate on a regular basis, you know, whether the website's up to date or not with those resources. So it's a little bit of a challenge and a little bit of a burden for us, but I think that the first thing we do is actually get the information so we know what the universe is out there for us, and then we'll figure out how we maintain it. But that's a great question. I thought of that.
Well, one of the reasons I'm asking this is in presenting information to you, should I be presenting to you a list of organizations that have done programming for, you know, regarding African American history and culture in the past, and then just we reach out to them periodically to see if they will post, or because I'm just trying to think of the easiest way for me to then approach these institutions and let them know how they're going to pass their resource, you know, into
to us.
Right.
How do we get the information from them?
Yeah, and to make it a smooth transition.
I mean, it does seem like, it seems burdensome to be updating it, you know, weekly or even monthly, but we could, if we
Do
sort
a
of
quarter.
internally- Yeah, quarterly seems like a reasonable, you guys could collect information from institutions on a quarterly basis, vet it, and then provide updated content.
Yeah.
See, but that's kind of the question I'm asking.
I think,
You know, the vetting process, who's going to do that?
well, yeah, but there
Well, I
comes a
think that-
time when the working group is
the
no
working
more,
group,
you
right?
know?
Isn't that-
And I think that what we need to establish is
Yeah.
the contacts between DOS, just maintain the website, or DOS and SCD and SUNY, whatever, and the institutions themselves. It may be that this is so daunting, because that is a daunting thing, that we collect the information about those entities which have had and are likely to have information for you, and list those and say contact the entity directly, you know, for events.
See, but I think that could somewhat hinder our mission, because ultimately what we want to do is we hope by, you know, disseminating this information that other people will be more engaged to include this in their curriculum. So I think the goal is to have people who may not necessarily have done African American programming in the past that take on this challenge to want to receive some type of credit or recognition for participating. And that's why I'm trying to see, like, maybe I can break my my subcommittee into maybe 4 or 5 different categories for just current events or upcoming events or future events, so that a person that is reviewing it will be able to determine what is immediate and what they have time, to get to. If they have a little more time to get to, annual event or.
No, that's a good point, David, because I think also, as you said, break up your committee into 4 different groups. I think, and within that, then you'll want to look at early childhood, elementary school, junior high school, and higher ed. I think we need to break up things like that, because I would say currently my company, we're looking for children's books about slavery. So I've been getting people in my circle have been sending information, but they're not all children's books. They're also, oh, well, you should read this, you should read that. But I can see already just asking for children's books about slavery is
too broad.
Is too broad. And so we need to be very organized, as what you're saying. We should really.
Yeah, I think that content management is going to be an essential part of, what we're trying to do here, just to make the site friendly, user friendly.
Right.
Because we want local institutions to know what, is close by that kind of supports, the curriculum, but at the same time, we don't want to start posting things late.
Right.
We don't want this to be a content burdened project, because we get tons and tons of resources and no way of deciphering it because there's no one to do so. The other suggestion that I was going to make is possibly having some type of juried board for future research, or students that are doing research papers or articles that we can post, so that there's some type of motivation for students on all levels to be involved, even if that's nothing but an annual, annual competition or some type of, annual display of knowledge, or I don't know what you would call it. But I just think that it's really important to make sure that, that this is living research,
These are all,
and that the social application is meaningful.
It is in the nature
I like
of what
that idea.
I do too.
your
Great
recommendations
idea.
are going to be, right? So that what I would keep in mind is that, and I do like the idea of a living website that is updated regularly. There are going to be limitations, obviously, on staffing. We know this. That's not a secret. So we're going to have some happy balance or medium on that. But I say go forth and conquer. Give us your best thoughts. Give us the information, and then we're going to figure out how to do it. And if we can't do it to any extent, we'll say that, and we'll figure out what the next step is after that. But these are great ideas, and I can see already that there's going to be a whole lot of cross-pollination between these committees, because everything relates to everything else. But that's very good.
So should we be concerned about funding at all for the website, or that's not an issue?
Well, it depends. It depends, right? I mean, we're going to get a website up and running that's going to be far, far more user-friendly and robust than what we have now.
Okay.
Now, taking it to the next level, I don't know, but let's see what we have first. But with respect to funding, there's all sorts of funding issues, right? There's more that can be done with more funding. So is that something you want to address, or is that just a question?
No, I just meant it as a concern, because it's nice to be able to use all of our expertise to bring about large amounts of information. And then it's another thing to see it go nowhere because we don't have the funding to really make a difference.
Right. Now, I understand that, but I think that, look, the department's website is, at this point I can say, is fairly robust. We do manage to keep up with a great deal of the content, although I keep finding pages that are like 10 years out of date. So I imagine this will be handled as well. Again, I think that we'll probably come up with more than we can handle, but we'll have enough that we'll have a much, much, much better interface than we do now, with a lot more information. And then I guess we'll see, you know, if we need another FTE or whatever, then we'll have to deal with that. And
I could see one instance where if we decided to put, let's say, some video on, then, you know, who actually does the video, who then takes it to the next step to put it either in a podcast or on YouTube or something like that.
Yeah.
And then, so there's a little bit of cost that might be in actually having the videographer, the equipment, you know, or does the Department of State provide all of that?
yeah, that's not going to happen.
I like what you're saying, though, Teresa. That's great. I think that we do need a video component. I mean, I think we should, you know, just go big. We want a video. We want podcasts. We want a blog. We want to have some interactive activity as much as we can blow this out, right?
Yeah, I just think that, you know, when you start getting into social media and social networking, you're going to have, you know, a lot of big brothers around. And that may not necessarily be what we want to take on immediately, especially when I think the type of feedback that we want right now is constructive feedback. I don't think we want to just open ourselves up for negative hits when we are in the process of really trying to construct something, again, that's meaningful. So I would say forego the social networking aspects and just, even if it's somewhat static for the first year, I think that if the content is strong, then we're going to get support and ideas rather than having people to criticize, you know, our first attempt. Because this, I mean, I've been on this committee for a while, and I know that and a lot of people have been anticipating, you know, what our outcome is going to look like. I often tell people it also is contingent upon your commitment to the success of this organization too. Now, don't ask us what we're giving to you. Ask us for what you need. You know, describe to us some of the issues you think needs to be addressed in your region, or specific history that would be meaningful into motivating other people in getting involved, you know, in this organization's mission. One of the things that I think I brought up when I first came onto this committee is establishing some type of list of subject headings for research. Because, I mean, when you think about ordinary language and issues of historical amnesia among young people regarding African American history, you know, a lot of people, you know, don't even know the correct terminology to use to begin research. You know, people aren't using the term Negro often anymore. You know, we may hear African American, you know, every now and then. Black is used kind of interchangeably, but we're not listening. You know, you don't hear the term free black often. And I think that, you know, by creating this, and this is one of the things that I would like to contribute to the committee, creating this subject heading outline so that whiteness also becomes a research term. So that, you know, even if we can't provide content, maybe in providing some of these subjects, students will be able to find what they're looking for.
Hasn't come to fruition yet. Yeah, I agree. That would be very valuable. So I'm hearing we're going to have different levels, all right?
Yeah.
In this website piece, we're going to have stuff that we can do very, very quickly, and then we're going to have stuff that is going to take us a while, and then we're going to have stuff that's going to need resources. So, you know, I want the wish list. I want all your thoughts and ideas, but it's not going to happen right away. But the first thing to do is to get, you know, just basic contacts information on the website so that we have something to give. Right now we have nothing. All right.
Yeah.
So okay. All right. So any other thoughts on any of these other working groups?
Okay.
Maybe you should bring up setting a deadline.
Well,
Yeah, I was just
I wanted to,
yeah.
I was just gonna bring up something that Lisa had brought up at the last meeting we had, was about what the schools are doing, that our mission is to review and make suggestions, and we were stuck with, how will we review what the schools are doing? Do
Well-
we ask the schools? I mean, how do we even ask them? Like, what
I
are you
think
guys
that's a little-
doing, and
well,
what do you need?
a
I
little
mean,
much for
how
the
do we
website, but you
do
know
that
what?
part
I
of
have
it?
I have a
Do you
working
think we
group.
could do that
I
through
have
our
educator
website?
input that I put there because I don't know the answer, and I'm hoping that you guys can come up with the
Yeah.
answer
Oh.
for how to establish that colloquy.
Okay.
So that's a real for sure working group, so there'll be real for sure recommendations, and if you would like to be on that subcommittee as well, that'd be great. You can do all three. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Right, yeah, why
I
not?
think that
We
some
all
of,
are gonna be on all three, probably.
I think that there's, even the Dignity Act and some other recent legislation kind of affords us an opportunity to talk about civil rights. Even when we talk about, Occupy Wall Street or even current elections, voter suppression. All of these are issues that become a part of, I guess, current or popular culture in which we can, actually put little links into our website and make historical connections. And that's what I mean by, even though this is somewhat of a static website, if we start to pull into things or pull in information and resources that would be of interest or immediately of interest to things that are happening, that we may find that more schools will look to us, for guidance regarding these issues.
Although it does seem like the website could be sort of most effective if it's sort of a catalog of resources that exist. Because if we're not updating it, if even a quarterly basis is like tough for us to update, like, and there are other institutions that have constantly updated websites that have more resources that they can devote to it.
Right.
Maybe what we're just providing is sort of a library, like you were saying, a library of how do you do research about this topic? Where do you look? Number one, what are the terms you use? What are the, people and individuals you can contact? What are the books you can read? What are, sort of just like pointing people to all of the resources that are available in our state.
Right.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of students in higher education that are getting master's degrees and even PhDs or EDDs that have to do research papers. And if their research paper has anything to do with the subject, the idea of even allowing them to link on so that we do have some, I don't want this, I want this to be a living entity in the regard that people do have access to it. I just think that we need to establish a group of, like we said, volunteers that will be a buffer and to say what is legitimate to the cause versus what is just kind of questionable research.
Yeah.
So I think both things work together, is what I'm saying.
Right, I like the idea of being a resource and referral place, right? You go to our site when you need information. If you're a teacher or a student or just someone who's interested in the topic,
Has anyone,
you can
like,
go
I
to
was
our
just
site
curious, I remember,
and
some time
find
ago,
some
the
information,
New
or at least
Jersey
some suggested
Amistad,
directions to go
site
in.
was pretty,
Yes.
Yeah.
Developed. And I'm wondering if we, I'm wondering if we could, and I'm just wondering,
Yeah.
they do, right?
Yes, it's very nice.
So, I mean, ultimately.
It's very
that's what
nice.
it
I looked at it before I came out.
But I was just wondering.
They have a staff
if
too,
we could
They have a
maybe
$2
as a
million.
group take a look
They have a
at that
$2
site
million
and
budget.
implement
Yeah.
What could be,
And
perhaps.
Support from Princeton.
a framework for us
Right,
to
exactly.
springboard from. And I'm not suggesting that we do something that's a mirror image. But I'm just saying that,
There's a lot of great information on that website, and I have no problem stealing. No problem stealing, and New Jersey has no problem with us stealing from them, so that, yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah. Right, it's why not? Why, right, exactly. Why reinvent the wheel?
But
They are very great. They are very good.
But I think that we could probably do something that's a
Better.
little more sophisticated
Right,
than
I
their
think we could
website.
be more sophisticated.
I want to
and
get
and I
something
think
on the web.
that
We've been-
again, I've just been on this committee so long. I just want this product to
You
be
want it to-
something
yeah.
impressive.
Right.
And yeah,
Right.
I mean that too. I think
Right.
I think that too. But I think that if we do something, even if when we first, I guess go live or whatever we call it, that we have, maybe a little footage of someone, instrumental in African American history and culture, or a historian or something to say something, because we have no mandate. We can't really make
We can't make
people,
yeah.
adopt our curriculum.
Right.
But at least we can do something where it would appeal to them to at least take a look. And maybe the first thing we address is slavery, because that is one of our, our major mandates. And then just break out with as much stuff as you can, ask for as much content, see what type of feedback that we're getting, even maybe offer a little competition among school districts.
Hey, can I say something here?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, what is your name?
I hear what you say about slavery, and it's all well and good. I just was viewing some materials, and what they had, it was done by David Barton about black history and slavery, and they started a little beyond slavery after slavery, the black was set free somewhat, and what they did was they started with the political end.
Yes.
Blacks who were in legislation. In other words, so it started out on a positive thing that especially if we're gearing this material for young people, that what, I can do this. And then further down the road piece, then you can begin to slide in some of the slavery things. Because I think that yes, we need to know about slavery. We've heard about it, heard some truths, some lies, but what can we give them that they'll have a positive outlook on finding out more about what the Amistad Commission has done?
I think that the reason I would start with slavery is because the first barrier we're going to have to get over as a committee is that kids psychologically taking on the responsibility of the acts of their ancestors. I think that that's something that we want to demystify immediately, that history is history.
Right.
And how does one approach history? How does one, engage history?
Right.
And that you're responsible for something that happened in the past. This is simply a way of examining a social construct that
And
has.
also, it's not Black history. It's
American
American
history.
We have to. I mean, even
But
his.
I mean, we can mince words here. There's a school out here on Long Island that was teaching Black American history, and the courses are going over very well, and they concentrate more on the positive side of it, and then they would bring in. I'm just throwing this out there. I mean, however, the committee decides to do fine.
This is a good discussion. I think it's a discussion that should happen at the committee level.
And I think we need to get past that. I really do. But anyway, that's just my discussion.
Well,
But can I add a thought here, Harold Bellinger? I think that we could do both simultaneously.
yes, I think so
Because
too.
if it's slavery, that doesn't mean that it has to end just negatively. You can look at
That's
the
true.
positive as far as the African American achievements and what people were able to do as a result of that horrific experience, and how they were able to become legislators, etc. So I do understand that there is going to be a pushback if we just concentrate on slavery, because some citizens in New York State will have told me, I don't want my son or daughter exposed to that. And my mouth fell open, but be it as it may, I think we can do both simultaneously. Somewhere in the discussion, I would like to go back to the budget issue, because I think that this is critical, even if it's at the end.
Okay. In terms of doing something, if you want something that's on the website now, we were talking about the Emancipation Proclamation celebration that just happened just a few days ago, and there's an exhibit of the preliminary documents that are actually part of the New York State. It's been going through a tour around. It was just at the Schomburg, and then next is going to Long Island University. And actually, did SUNY, DLS, I think that the state education department here in New York State had a lot to do with that exhibit. So, you know, we could actually include that as, you know, as something that could actually go on the website now, give recognition to, yeah, link it now, because it's an exhibit that's going to be, it's a month-long exhibit. It's still going on now. It just got kicked off in, you know, in New York City, and it's going to be, have an article here. I think it's going to be in upstate soon, but it's now making its tour around downstate.
And if you, I could.
I have the link to several articles. I could send it, you know, to everyone. You can look at it and then, you know, decide if you want to link the articles or you want to maybe there was a press release sent out by New York State, you know.
It's called An Irrepressible Conflict. It is the Civil War, and it is an extensive lead-up as well as consequences of the war. The state historian Robert Webby, who is a nationally renowned expert in multiple areas of museum studies, has done a lot of work with this process. It is a very unique exhibit because it does not divorce the lead up to the Civil War itself, and the consequences. It covers the whole spectrum.
So Casey, here we have a perfect example where we ought to be in touch and helping each other out. Can you, because you have links to this, right? And
yes.
This is your deal, right?
This is state ed, yep.
Can you throw that to us? And what we'll do what's new and different, you know, we'll do a nice little promo on our website with a little explanation and link to yours.
Sure.
Right, like right away. I mean, that would be a wonderful thing. Nina, could you make sure is Edison there? I didn't see him. Yeah, and that's just something we should be doing that flat out across the board. SUNY, SED, I mean. So
no, but I'll make sure he gets anything.
And what about Amistad? Is the story on the website?
No, I don't think so. The story of the Amistad is that on.
And then the other thing that we could do right away is the Amistad story. I don't know, you know, a lot of people don't really know what the Amistad story is. And so we could maybe make a list of the books and movies and things that's related to it and how, you know, the whole thing came together. And
well, maybe what we want to do is think about dates. Maybe having like a preliminary, like here's like some preliminary stuff we could put up on the website, you know, 2 or 3 weeks out, get something going.
Right.
And then, you know, another month after that have some sort of more expansive content ideas or something like that. I don't know, maybe that's too aggressive of a schedule.
No, I think that is something. Let's say by October the 15th.
Yeah, let's set a date and we'll have something like that. And
by
maybe,
October the 15th.
Right, October the 15th. We'll set this deadline, October 15th, and then we'll put something together. And do we want to give a message to the public and say, okay, the Amistad Commission has met, and you know, we're meeting now, and we're
folks can access
you know
and hear us
open to
hopefully, because the last one didn't work out.
I don't know if you want to put that out.
We will be posting, you know,
links
and all that good stuff, so people do have access to that.
Yes, I just need to back it up a little bit, and I'm new, and it's a pleasure to serve on this committee. I teach African American history, and my master's degree was in African American history. I graduated from the University at Albany from their Africana Studies department. And I think it's important to note at the very beginning, as far as the negativity about the history or with the enslavement, I always start out with the ancient kingdoms in Africa the three most important ones, so that they understand how powerful they were before I introduced Sinke, which is the movie that follows. And again, they see this warrior who was able to return home, and how he was able to motivate the individuals and how he took care of them because of his midday training there in Africa. So I think that you can put the positive spin on it in the very beginning when they understand their roots and pretty much how they descended, regardless of the enslavement that happens here in America. So those are very motivational things that you can do in the very beginning of the curriculum.
This is a huge topic. There's so much that we could do. There's so much that we should do. But my fear is that if we approach this in a shotgun approach, we're going to have a bunch of little holes. I think we need to develop a structure. Here's step one, we are going to gather this stuff. Step two, we are going to put these, and maybe even, outline it a little bit. We have the educator input piece. How do we right off the bat get in touch with educators around the state and say, what are you currently doing? What more are you looking for? What do you not know about that you want to know about? And in some cases, we don't know what we don't know. I think if we ask what they're currently teaching, how it's currently incorporated into the coursework at all levels, from kindergarten through college, we can begin to develop an idea as to where the focal points need to be on the website, where we start to bring pieces in. I think there's some great stuff out here. We've got some great ideas. It's also it's a touchy subject in places. There's, how do we approach this? Do we start with the positive? Do we start with the problems? People are going to have different perspectives, and I don't want to be politic about it. I think that we can get hung up on those things. I think what we need to do first is identify where the actual needs are and focus on those. If I'm a teacher, if I'm a social studies teacher, and you can link on a website resources that I can make use of. We talk about the Amistad curriculum. Well, a curriculum is a written document. It's, I start here, I go to here. I don't know if we're actually going to develop a curriculum per se, or if we're going to be a series of resources that they can choose to use. I don't know where we stand there. I don't think we've even made that decision yet. So until we do that, I think there's too much right now. I think we need to start with a focus, and I'll throw that out there and see what the committee says here.
Yeah, I think we do need to focus. But in essence, we are taking this discussion from what should be really in the subcommittees, all right, where the ideas and the perspectives are discussed, and then there's ultimately a recommendation as to how to proceed. And we're taking it, which is understandable because we're all excited about it. So we're taking that to this meeting right now. And we're not going to resolve where we go. These are ideas, and we're breaking them for each other, and that's wonderful. But what I think we need to do is to establish the subcommittees and have folks talk about that within that context and come back with recommendations and rationales. But I agree, there are different levels on the website. Specifically, it is very easy for us, and we will be posting informational resources, all right? That's not controversial, all right? With respect to how does one present the issue, all right, and the mission. In essence of this commission, that's another level, and that'll take a great deal of thought and consideration, and we'll get there. But to me, to have something tangible right away, the first thing I want to do is start getting educational resources on there, which should be relatively easy. Now, that's separate and apart, perhaps, from updating events and all that, but there's a wealth of information SCD has already, and I'm embarrassed to say...
Yes, we do.
And Sumi, I'm sure that I'm embarrassed to say that we haven't reached out and done it.
Right.
We should reach out and do that.
And Dan, what's even on top of that as well is that as part of the charge from the committee last time, I asked about the MANI, or the Museum Association of New York State. All of their contact information for their member institutions is online. One of the things is the state education department we are doing is we have our draft K-8 social studies Common Core framework online currently on engage.org. And one of the feedback points that I think is very important is that teachers always want more resources. I can remember teaching social studies. We always wanted more resources. We wanted more documents available for our students. We wanted more visuals. I think that if the Educational Input Committee or the Cultural Resources Committee could work with some of these museums to say, hey, we've got this great place for not only for you to promote your museum, but also if you would release to us documents or pictures or videos that you have already created to put on the web, we could have an immediate content upload from the Museum Association members who in many places they're looking. For instance, in Rochester, they have the Susan B. Anthony House. The Susan B. Anthony House has information that's readily available that they would like to get out to a bigger, broader audience. They're a very small museum in Rochester. You know, the Buffalo and Erie County Historical Society has wonderful information that's available that they would, I'm sure, like to get out for a bigger, broader picture, because everybody wants to promote their local tourism, and I know that that's one of the governor's major thrusts right now is cultural tourism in the state. So that would definitely be something that one of the subcommittees could contact the MNANI or the museum associations and see if they'd be willing to contribute an item to our website.
That's great. You know what, let's write, can we right now decide among ourselves who's going to be on these subcommittees, who's going to be the liaison to the state folks, so that we can start to do some of this great stuff. So why don't I just sort of call it out. I know we already have volunteers, but Pamela, get your pen ready. All right, so, and everybody will want to be at everything, but I would suggest that we'll have a lot of interplay between them, obviously, but I don't know if you can do it all. So why don't we just try and keep focused. So website redesign. Who would like to be on website redesign? Say your name so Pamela can take them down. Yeah?
Mary Teresa Struck.
Okay, anybody else?
Jonathan Cornu.
All right, website redesign. Is there anybody that would like to take the lead in that and communicating with
I am.
Edison?
Sylvia.
Okay,
Sylvia,
see, first one in.
Sylvia
I'm
Lewis.
going to volunteer you, Sylvia.
All right, so that's number one. Educational and cultural resources. Who's there? And Casey will be the David. Great stuff.
I
Next.
would. Sylvia.
Well, is everybody hanging out for educator?
Okay, thank you.
Who else?
All right.
Okay.
David Byer Tire.
Wonderful. Yeah, I brought that. Yeah, I got David. I got David and Naraya. Okay. All right.
Dan,
Anybody
we
else
have
on that one?
Naraya. She's not
All
on,
right.
I don't think
I'll
she's on the
hold on that for a
phone,
moment.
but she expressed interest in,
There you go. Now we're
educational
rounding it out.
and
Thank you.
cultural
And
resources.
Naraya's not here, but I don't care. Who would like to be the
Naraya,
folks that speak to Casey on this? Who would like to be the lead?
Oh, boy.
Oh, wait, one more,
There you
Robert
go.
Lloyd.
Thank you, David.
Thank you. All right, educator input.
Smooth Chambers.
Great. Great. Anybody else?
Jonathan Cornu.
Okay. And who would?
I'd like to be the lead. No problem.
Harold Bellinger.
Sylvia.
That group,
You can be on both.
hear the end of it. That's educator input.
Okay. I'm just trying to see where I could best contribute. I work in an elementary school, so I'm trying to decide if
Maybe
the one you
educator
just
input
mentioned
is
or
the place
this
for
one would
you?
be more appropriate. But I guess that's either one that
Okay.
just
So you've been
being hands-on
drafted.
in school
Educator
districts,
input.
working with teachers all the
Who would
time,
like to
that's what I
take the
think would be
lead
best.
in that?
I'd be happy to be helpful on.
Any?
This is Lisa.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds
you
good.
wanted
Tamu Chambers is also part.
And
that's
Tamu is
part.
new to us from SUNY.
And Jonathan Cornu.
That's a robust committee.
That is.
Who else is on the educator
You know, I
input
hope
committee? That's
whoever they can,
Lisa
I'm
Catalsmo,
afraid
Dr. Bellinger, Sylvia Wong Lewis.
So tomorrow's gonna be the liaison for SUNY, right?
Yeah, we're working together.
Yeah, so you will be, you'll provide Pamela with your email address, telephone number, everybody has it.
Are you still
All right,
on
look,
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
got
so
bitten
Jonathan's
off.
got the lead.
No, chunk of
Yeah,
the
you
apple.
did, you did.
Yeah, we're, yeah.
Commission members, before we leave the subcommittee structure, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Before you leave the subcommittee structure, there's one thing that I think we need to take a look at, and that is our budget formation subcommittee. And the reason I am putting this on the table right now, having been on the commission early on, leaving it and then being reappointed, we have always discussed the state budget request. I am suggesting that we look at a first instance appropriation through the legislature, which would provide a 50-50 matching grant or scholarship funding basis. And that first instance appropriation could be a leverage, or it could be a number of structures with the funds be repaid to the general fund of the state. There are many different operations that we can take this on, but I think that the committee has reached, the commission has reached a level of sophistication where we have to, at this point, request funding. We missed the round last year, etc. I think that going in this year, especially on a pilot basis, on the funding side of it, knowing the budget committees, I think they will buy into it.
I don't think that's
and I know that the governor's office certainly
I'll be
will.
very, very candid.
So I
don't
would
think
certainly like to
it's
put
the role of this
down
commission to
or
lobby
recommend
for
that we have
However,
some type of
when we
subcommittee
develop-
on budgeting requests. And that
I'm sorry.
includes shifting
Yeah, I said-
grant
I'll try
funding.
and speak loud. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Okay. You said, I'm going to be very candid. I don't think it's the role of the commission to lobby the second floor or even the legislature with respect
I'm
to
sorry, I'm
funding.
having
However,
difficulty
it's
because
perfectly
I have a
appropriate for
breakup
the
here.
commission to
Could you repeat yourself, please?
set forth what it thinks it needs to have happen in order to further its mission, that it needs funding and that perhaps seek out sources of funding. So I have no objection to establishing a funding subcommittee, if you will. I would think maybe that's something, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that SUNY has much more experience with than SED in terms of seeking out grants.
Well, we do from the Research Foundation, so.
Yeah.
So the key, the trick is how do we bring them into the fold at the appropriate time?
At the appropriate time, because we have nothing quite yet. I mean, look, in former discussions,
I'm still having difficulty hearing you. I'm
past
sorry.
meetings, I mean, when we were talking about curriculum redesign, SED needed money, all right? And that wasn't gonna happen, all right, at that time. So fiscal concerns are certainly an issue, but I think we need to very clearly define what it is we need and why before we go looking for money, all right?
Absolutely.
So, so I hear your suggestion. I'm just not quite sure if we're ready for it yet.
Put the cart before the horse.
But Kemp?
Ask the information, yeah.
Well, I'm having difficulty, again, hearing you because there's breakup. But the second part of the recommendation would be a wish list on a fiscal basis from each subcommittee.
Yeah.
And then that could be filtered down and possibly put into some type of budget arrangement that the committee would be
Yeah, I
willing
think
to
you're
live with.
tracking what I said,
And
actually.
there
I mean,
are
that's pretty much,
funded commissions
I
to
think
the
we need
state.
for
So
the
that's the
subcommittees
suggestion
to come
that I
up
have
with
to put on the
recommendations.
table now. It could be tabled, it could be looked at down the road.
Adopted,
But it's something
and
I
then
think that we need to begin to really
ways in which to
seriously
accomplish those
take a
recommendations
hard
that would
look at.
probably include pleas for funding somehow. How do we get it done? If we don't have, for instance, DOS doesn't have capacity to make the website available the way we're contemplating, how do we develop that capacity? If there are some exciting projects that can be done that are normally are provided for by grants, well, how do we make that happen? And so I think that's, I do agree with you. I think that's part of it. I think first we need to have our concrete wish list before we make the pleas. So why don't we do that? And I think it's a great, I think it's important too. I don't disagree.
Now, Danny, I just wanted to make a couple of comments. With regard to educator input, one of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking is that SUNY has a publication area. It's called SUNY Press.
Right.
And so I would look to see what scholarship there's been in this area, because the SUNY Press is fairly sizable with regard to publications.
Right.
And so I'm of the mind that there has to be a listing of books that have been published in this area. And so I would advance those to this committee. The other is, right.
To add to that, I think that is a great idea. I think that the SUNY Press could possibly be one of the resources that could manage future scholarly research in this area. And you may create a category if, I mean, again, it's your organization, but if you can create a category that deals with the Amistad Commission, that allows us to provide a service without necessarily having to hire someone, you know, to manage this, and know that there's already a respectable vetting system to make sure that the research is up to par. So I think that that's a great idea.
That no one better than maybe a scholar in this area could be the person that could fit this bill. And so I would also look to SUNY to see what faculty we have within our ranks, you know, outside of TAMU as well, but, you know, that could maybe fit that bill to do something of that nature. And then lastly, I haven't looked at the existing Amistad website, but in the package that you sent us with the agenda, I noticed that there's information on the commission's legislation.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if that's on the website.
I think there's a link to that.
Because if it isn't,
it ought to be. Especially with this, I think, no, there's a link to that in the website.
Okay.
But again, that website needs, that web page and its associated content needs to be redesigned. There's no question. But could you provide that, because now that we have an Educational and Cultural Resources Subcommittee, could you provide that information to them, like sort of link with that?
Sure.
And what we'll do is, Pamela, we'll send out the list of subcommittee members to break up the liaisons, the contacts with the email addresses and telephone numbers. And in essence, you can create your own listservs by just adopting those email addresses for subcommittee communications. If you want to share, that's great. My only caution is that when we share universally, everybody gets to the act, and then somehow nothing gets done.
Right.
So I'm just recommending, I'm not dictating by any means, that we keep it within the subcommittees and then get the recommendations, and that's when we have our general discussion. Casey, you know what, I went out of order because I think I had you first in the agenda for SED.
I've actually managed to cover 3 of the updates from SED. I think the 4th one is not too long ago, relatively out of the blue, Dr. Raymond Giles contacted me. Dr. Giles has won a research award, and I cannot remember if it's a Fulbright or if it's another research award. And Dr. Giles, as a condition of the award, needs to, in addition to teaching a course, develop educational materials that are related to the African American experience both in the United States and abroad. One of the things that Dr. Giles has done is extensive research on a group of free blacks who immigrated from New York to Dominican Republic, and he has done extensive research in the New York City concerning that community. And Dr. Giles said to me, I'd love to be able to put a place to have this material distributed. And I said, I know the group.
Yeah.
So Dr. Giles has agreed to place some of the materials that's created through his research award with the Amistad Commission for future use. He's currently in one of the universities in Dominican Republic teaching, but he has given me extensive contact information as well as his actual research proposal, which I'll forward to you, Dan, because it's going to be very important to have it. But again, Dr. Giles has pretty much said that he will contribute some of the materials that's developed to the Amistad Commission for publication.
That's great.
Wonderful.
So we have to develop the context for this.
Yeah.
And boy, that's wonderful.
And what's really unique is that he is tapped into materials and archives that have not been touched before by scholars. So this is really a unique opportunity, and I think he would love maybe if SUNY Press wouldn't mind publishing any books that come out of it.
Oh, I mean,
So-
yeah,
Right.
it's just
Right.
it's a matter of process.
Exactly.
So-
So hopefully, that might be something that, and maybe at the next Amistad committee meeting, maybe we could ask Dr. Giles to do a brief presentation
Yeah, sure.
about what his research is going to look like. So.
That's wonderful. All right, so, yeah. Huh? Small world.
I think that's great. I'd like to add that I actually know Dr. Giles. I was a student of his at Smith College, and so I think he would be great. So what a small world. But I was thinking just to, related to what you just said, I was thinking that the Amistad
All right,
Commission,
so we have
or
our
perhaps
subcommittees.
other
We have our
educators,
contacts.
probably
What we have to do now is
need a
work.
kind of orientation about
And
the
develop
Amistad
recommendations.
and about
Yeah.
Black history and all of that. And I was wondering, if we could have a guest speaker or something. So I'm so glad that you recommended
That's correct.
Mr. Giles.
Right. Good. So, the next thing is to put some time constraints on and to actually.
Dan, I
project
just
when
wanted
the
to be
next,
clear that for the
full commission
Educator
meeting will be.
Input Committee, that Jonathan Cornu
Is
is the
6
leader
weeks too short
and
a period of
Tamil
time?
Chambers
Or 2
is the
months? I mean, folks,
liaison.
what do you think?
2 months
right?
we are
Okay.
engaging in the
Thank you.
significant work in the state education department concerning the frameworks. So it's going to be, I would need a minimum of 2 months to make sure I could honor the
Sure.
Amistad work in addition to my home-based work.
So today's date is, what is date?
So 26 or something?
So at the end of September, October, November, so we're into December. Do we want to try for the middle of December? And that's tough to travel, but you know what?
I'm right here. What is that?
Is that, do folks have time?
26. November. 26.
Oh, yes, oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, of course. I mean, in the sense,
Whoa.
I don't want to violate the open meetings law, okay, so unofficial meetings, but no, the subcommittee can share.
Can we
with all
have
of us
an unofficial
whatever it
meeting?
chooses to share.
I think that,
if you develop
or even
recommendations that you want
have our
to
committees to
circulate them. We'll do
submit
work while we're
things.
waiting, all right?
Do you
I
unofficially
want-
prior
I
to
want you
that
to be-
date?
And Casey's gonna
Right.
kill me, all right? But the.
Okay,
the
because
state contacts, all right, our ex officio contacts.
Right, right.
Use them all through. That's not waiting for a meeting, all right? This should be, yeah?
Okay.
Okay.
That's great.
Okay.
Can we say,
Yeah, and
how about maybe October the 29th, as far as
Yeah, the other
to get
thing,
an
by the way,
idea
I'll
of
say
what
is
people have? so that we
What's
can
that?
start to piece something together? Because when
I
we
know,
do
the other
meet,
thing-
if we're
the other thing
meeting
that I would
almost
say
at the
is
end
that
of the year,
We're not gonna wait.
I think it's
for
gonna
the
be,
website
you know,
for these-
important
you
that
know,
we have something to
recommendations and
share
stuff
with
that we're
the
gonna do.
public.
I mean, I'm gonna coordinate.
Again, I don't want it to be,
Okay,
you
so
know,
That museum
So-
another year
We're
down
gonna-
and
we're gonna
nothing
start
achieved.
A preliminary
Maybe
redesign
it
and
makes
stuff
sense
on there right
to-
now, you know?
Oh, go ahead,
Yeah,
Dan,
just-
sorry.
Yeah,
But what's the framework? Now we're going, you know.
Mhm. We could get that going now, right?
So Dan, maybe by the end of October or by October 15th or some date in October, each of the 3 subcommittees can present a structure for the work they see themselves as undertaking and sort of assignments of like who on the subcommittee is undertaking that work or where they feel that the subcommittee needs additional support, be it, from the state or if they expect to recruit, volunteers or other people to get involved or,
that's a good
so
point.
that we
And
sort of
if
understand what the
recommendations be
proposal
made or
is for
something
what the
going around
work
the
that
horn,
the subcommittee will
just
do
do
is.
it.
And I think in doing that, it probably makes sense for each subcommittee to look back at the statute that governs this commission to
Yes.
say, what are we charged with doing here?
Mhm.
Like, and really reflect on how does this subcommittee advance those things that we're supposed to be accomplishing?
Well,
The other thing I wanted to ask is it possible that I guess we can use your
Tell you what,
office to set
yeah.
up meetings with other institutions? Because sometimes it's a little difficult for me to get an appointment with
possible.
someone that
Why
I
don't you
really
do
need
this?
to
When you
meet
have
with
those
because
kinds
I'm
of
just
meetings,
David
Lauren, give me
from
a call.
Nassau County trying to meet with
all
them.
right? And
Is it
I'll-
possible
I'll
that we
see
can use Pam to
So,
set up appointments so they
prestige
know
gets,
that we're
I can't- how can
representing the
anybody turn you
state
down for a
and,
meeting?
you
I don't
know,
believe
the
that.
Department of
I mean,
Education
we'll-
to
well,
expedite some information and access? Okay.
I wanted to mention that, it's tough to breathe in.
Yeah, right.
Let me think about that.
It
We got other
happens.
stuff, I just wanna,
It
run
might
that by
happen,
you.
right?
That's why we have people writing tons of books on slavery.
Mhm, right.
Now, since the subcommittees are well established.
I like that question. Could we have business cards too, right?
We can make sure that we
It's,
have.
it's sometimes it's very difficult to get people's ears.
Mhm.
Yep.
So that as we start to establish. Oh. Okay.
Right.
Thanks.
Well, all right, that's good. Have we got anything else of immediate import? So we have a date of October 25th as a date for the 29th, okay, for the subcommittees to provide
I will
their
get that,
essential
I'll get
structure, which we
updated
want,
lists out
preliminary
to
recommendations,
everyone.
whatever is needed. And we have the next meeting date sometime in the middle of December, I'm sorry. The department has promised, oh boy, the department has promised to get started on its website immediately. It will not be the final look, context, structure, and feel of the website, but we will start to get some information and links up that are readily apparent to us. We'll work with Carlos and Casey for those contacts. If there's anything obvious that folks want to give us to put in the website right now, by all means, give it to us, all right? And we'll do that. I think that pretty much summarizes where we are.
Are we, just for clarification for me, are we developing recommendations but not moving forward, or are we developing recommendations and moving forward with the things we think we need as a subcommittee to do?
Like what? I don't know.
For example, developing some sort of survey that we're going to roll out to educators. If our subcommittee decides that's something they want to do we need to bring it back here and get final approval for that?
I think that's a recommendation. I think that has to come from the full commission.
Okay.
Okay, and obviously we'll be providing the resources to do that.
Right.
You know, so I think that comes back to the full commission. But if there's something that needs to be done sooner rather than later,
Yep.
roll it out and we'll see what we can do. Right?
Okay.
Okay. All right then, so, I guess we stand adjourned till the next time. Thanks, everybody. It was great, this was good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Bye now.
See you.
Hey, same here.
Carlos, for the experts, I think the easiest thing to do is just go ask your presidents at each of the universities to give the experts, because I know, like at UB, you click on a thing and it says these are the people who are experts in these areas. So if you want to just
Thank you.
So that's easy.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways I think I might approach that. Number one,
So can we can we disconnect quick there?
because you might be able to say, look, just hit these guys.
Yeah.
And we'll get at it.
Yeah.
So we'll get the faculty
So let's
and
update
then
that.
I'll reach out to student press directors.
And that's through the,
Get them together.
And do you want me to give you Dr. Giles' email just so that you have that as well for contact? Okay. Okay. Yeah, because he's so excited about this, he really
Yeah.
is.
so he
Yeah.
gets
That'd be
right
nice.
there.
He'll give it to us.
I'll put him in contact with student press.
Yeah, he's done work in the past with study abroad programs with different institutions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't remember if it was through SUNY or CUNY or a private, I can't
Study
remember.
abroad is something that I've been getting involved in recently.
YouTube
too.
video clip that's
And
right
I'm
there.
putting together
You have the
a
speech here, but you
scholarship
don't have him
program
talking
to
to
see
everybody.
more historically
How do you go
underrepresented
about getting
students
that?
travel
Yeah,
abroad,
we would have to
because,
be given the
research has shown that there's not many that
And then
do.
we-
Exactly.
And
Okay, so
so
let's
we
say I
want to
said, Carlos,
expand that,
I got a little
and
camera.
immerse
Who's the
students
person?
into a different
I'll
culture,
set up the
as
the
well
video
as,
shoot,
give them an
and I
opportunity to do research.
then
Absolutely.
upload it to YouTube, you give the link.
Thank you, and good luck to you on your doctoral research, I think it's amazing, and I hope that you get some good stuff with that.
I hope so.
So is your focus on just the universities or community colleges as well?
I think,
You know, I'm always coming back to community
No, I know,
colleges.
It depends on what my chair says. Right now, I was hoping to focus on the but that would be a good study, because.
Yeah, but Carlos does it, yeah.
There's some challenges.
That's what
you
I'm
know?
looking at.
Yeah.
because you don't have a video
Carlos-
studio that they can go to,
SUNY,
right?
Well, SUNY probably does.
So let's say you get a professor who's just wonderful, and you want to be able to do a short clip that's put on the front of that website.
Right.
So not only is a statement there, but also, you want to have him talk. Who's going to videotape that?
Who's gonna
I'll
do
take
that?
it, we're still on. Goodbye.
We have the ability to do that too.
Okay, so that's great.
We got a SUNY, network. And, they're the ones that do all the taping for the governor and everything.
Okay, so that, so there, it's right
So
there.
it's
So
an
you-
issue of